Morning. Welcome to the Affordable Housing Advisory Board on August 10th. We are having a virtual meeting this morning to go over the agenda for affordable housing for Hillsborough County. I'll call the meeting to order and ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I don't have a flag handy, but I'm sure somebody has one somewhere. But if you don't mind, please stand and I'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, thank you, James. Excellent. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Can the clerk actually take the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chairman. Commissioner Overman.
Here.
Mark Rosenwasser. Mark Rosenwasser.
Mark, you have to unmute yourself.
We'll come back to him. Connie Burton. Mayor Rick Lott. Councilwoman Sherry Donahue.
Present.
Cody Powell.
Here.
Councilman Goods. Adam Hardin. Sarah Combs. David Hollis. Catherine O'Donnelly.
Present.
Chrissy Nieves. Chrissy Nieves.
Present.
Okay. Elizabeth Strom.
Here.
And Mr. Rosenwasser, are you able to announce yourself? Okay, we're having some trouble with Mr. Rosenwasser's sound.
Okay, well, we can see a ceiling.
Yes.
Okay, and okay, excellent. Thank you all for being here. What we may need to do is, I think Ms. Combs just arrived. There you are, Sarah. Welcome. We just did roll call, so I just wanted to make sure that you are present.
And we have Miss Cheryl Howell.
Here.
And Nancy Takamori.
Excellent.
Here.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here this morning on this bright, hot, sweltering morning. During each meeting, we do have time of 15 minutes set aside for public comment. If there are anyone that signed up for public comment, now's the time to be offered 3 minutes worth of comment. Do we have anyone that signed up for public comment this morning?
Madam Chair, we did not have anyone signed up for public comment.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Moving on, we sent to you in the board packet that went out really early, I guess July 17th, the approval of the minutes for July 6th and July 13th. If everyone's had an opportunity to,
Madam Chair, this is Nancy. I do not believe you have a quorum at this time.
Okay.
Good morning. Mr. Hollinger just joined the meeting. Mr. Hollinger, that was you. Can you lower your speakers in the background, sir? I'm going to go ahead and unmute you again.
Well, let Hollinger please mute yourself.
Yeah, when he's muted, it's fine. When he's unmuted, it echoes, because he's probably logged in virtually as well as with his phone.
Mr. Hollinger, if you can hear me, I just need you to turn the speakers down on one device or the other, whether it's the phone or the computer, preferably the computer, and just listen and talk to the phone.
Oh, he disappeared. Well, we'll keep an eye out to see if he is able to log back in. I see David Hollis has joined us. Okay, well, then we'll move on to the minutes and bring that towards the end of the meeting in the event that we have additional individuals that choose to join.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, this is Nancy again. I think with Mr. Hollis, if Mr. Rosenwasser is present, then you would have a quorum.
Okay. Okay.
And yes, yes, I am present, David Hollis.
Excellent. Okay. Well, if we in fact do have a quorum, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of July 6th and July 13th.
Move both.
Okay, and clerk, will you?
Second.
Excellent. We have a motion by David Hollis, a second by, I couldn't hear who that was.
Sarah Combs.
Sarah Combs, thank you very much. We have a motion by David Hollis, a second by Sarah Combs. Clerk, please take the vote. Roll.
Overman,
Yes.
Rosenwasser, Donahue, Donahue,
Where did she go?
yeah, I don't see her.
Yeah, I think we
on the
must have lost her.
Yes, we lost her, so I don't believe we have a quorum now.
Okay, well, we'll hold off. We're going to have to start working on our technology skills here. I've gotten pretty practiced at this because I do it every day, all day, it's like, but if we only meet once a month, it's hard to get ready. Sherry, it does look like she's back. Ms. Donahue, can you respond?
Lost your audio altogether, so I had to leave and try to come back. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, let's go ahead since Sherry is back. We were approving the minutes of July 6th and 13th, and while we still have a quorum, would
Yes,
you like to add your vote?
I will vote yes.
Okay. Clerk, you may continue.
Okay. Mr. Powell,
Yes.
Ms. Combs,
Yes.
Hollis, Mr. Hollis,
Yes.
and returning to Mr. Rosenwasser, are you able to record your vote, sir?
It looks like his phone's locked in and pointed at the ceiling.
And this is David Hollis. Did you get my yes vote a second ago?
Yes, we did.
Perfect.
We just need Mr. Rosenwasser to respond.
Maybe he should do it through chat.
Oh, is that an option? I don't think we have that option.
Madam Chair, I believe that we're not able to do chat based on the public meeting.
Okay.
Right. Yeah,
That's correct.
typically we don't have chat in this environment.
I'm going to send Mr. Rosenwasser an email to call into the session. Maybe that can accommodate this.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So we'll hold off on the full vote until we get Mr. Rosenwasser connected. With that, I'd like to offer a legislative update. We've had a lot of good things happen. If I can get actually to my minutes. Several different levels of funding come through to achieve many, many good things. On the Board Accounting Commission side, we're looking at a variety of issues to help facilitate the development of affordable housing. Their comprehensive plan is evaluating ways that we could look at tools such as zoning and transit-oriented development and community design that would help address some of the challenges associated with the development of affordable housing. In addition to that, the Board of County Commission is also looking at ways that we can improve and develop fee waiver types of incentives for home development, whether it be multifamily or single family, where density is allowed, to help facilitate and make it easier for affordable housing to be built, and make sure that that barrier doesn't that financial barrier doesn't cause a problem in terms of the development of affordable housing. In addition to that, we're also evaluating transfer development opportunities. And that way, what we're able to do is with the transfer of development rights, bring density in areas where it's needed in order to facilitate affordable housing and allow rural areas or agricultural areas to maintain their value in order to allow those to be sustained. So many of the local agencies are working together to create this opportunity to help facilitate the development of affordable housing, and that should help our local home builders and developers, get in partnership with us in terms of making sure this is done. Let me take a little break. We have a caller in, user number 4. Could you identify yourself, please? Just called in.
813-393. Can you identify yourself, please?
Willette Hollinger.
Sorry, one more time.
Willette Hollinger.
Oh, Ms. Hollinger. Thank you, ma'am.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Welcome. Okay, and so that was one issue. And then the other opportunities we had is there's changes, and I'm going to ask Cheryl when she gets to her director's meeting to go through it in full. But there were changes in the way that the Affordable Housing, Florida Housing Corporation actually is administering resources to facilitate rent payments and other types of payments within our community. As many of you know, there was a change in the way the SHIP funds were originally budgeted to go, and a lot of that went towards the CARES effort, given how many people are actually concerned about not being able to stay in their homes. And so this program actually moved and increased the budget that we have available for rent payments, as well as other affordable housing and housing stability resources. Last week, I, along with the rest of the Board of County Commission and our county staff, increased our life safety resources from a range of 30 to 60 million to 145 million. Because we recognize that this pandemic has actually gone on longer than a lot of people expected and is still having unfortunate events on our economy and our families. So we're working very hard to try and make sure that people are able to stay in their homes as long as they possibly can. The change at the state level in the eviction stay is important to pay attention. There are some provisions within that I'm still researching with legal to make sure that individual renters in homes as well as a multifamily are still protected. But I've not gotten a clear guidance on that as of yet. And that's really all I have on the legislative side. Let's see, I want to close this. And with that, I'd like to ask for the chair of the policy subcommittee to provide us with a report on the July 28th, 2020 meeting.
Are you the subordination
Yes, ma'am.
Committee, I can address that. Luckily for me, I was, I'm not sure how I got elected to be the lead on this, being, I'm probably the least as far as understanding all of these rules and regulations. However, I'm ready and willing to learn. So I will tell you that to define the procedures, it has always fallen to our own office facility, you know, to Cheryl and all of the employees there. And it was decided that there needed to be a link to us as an advisory board. And so we've defined the procedures to be followed, and they are included in everyone's packet. So they're way too long and involved for me to give a report as far as that, but I really would recommend that everyone read them because it's amazing how when you put that many heads together, you realize what a wonderful job our folks are doing. It's just that they need more eyes on these issues to really fully comprehend what our role is here as an advisory committee. So I do want you people to please take a look at this. I don't know if Ms. Howell is prepared for us to take an actual vote on this policy today. Change, and really the change is that we are going to be another layer between the office and the BOCC. Ms. Howell, please add anything that you feel I've missed, because I'm trying to be succinct, and so I may have missed some important information. But I really would like for everyone, please, to take a few minutes to read it. It's not that long. I'll tell you what, it's shorter than reading the minutes. Okay, so since the minutes were word for word this last time, and I'm happy to be part of this committee.
Thank you,
great.
Ms. Donahue. Cheryl?
Good morning, Ms. Donahue. This is Cheryl Howell, Affordable Housing Services, and we have revamped those subordination and foreclosure policies. We work very, very closely with our county attorney, Nancy Takamori, on this. And so in saying that, we presented this to the subcommittee, and I believe that the product is ready for a vote. It's my hope that all of the members of the AHAB board have taken time to read over the policies and the backup documentation that we provided for all of these items. But as of right now, staff has prepared this as a finished product and ready for a vote.
Thank you, Cheryl. And like I say, I knew I was going to forget all the different players who play the major role in refining it, and it didn't. Again, it's not that they weren't already doing a commendable job. It's just that this puts many of the situations in clear understanding of what we can and are willing to do to help our partners as they try to make changes in order for them to continue to function. Life has changed, not just with COVID, but economically all over. So if you are, I offered the chair, if you are ready to take this to a vote, we are ready to present it for approval.
Excellent, excellent. Are there any other questions regarding the subordination? We have, basically we've set a framework for allowing those that are in need of restructuring, a framework for being able to move forward. And the future process would be that they would, make their case, the department would review it, make a recommendation. We would actually bring it to the board. Now that we're meeting monthly, it should not delay a process, because normally it takes several months to set these up anyway. It gives us an opportunity to be aware that this refinancing is coming, and then also to pay attention to what's happening in the economy. If we see these things rise a little more than not, it's very clear that there's, something going on that we need to pay attention to, that we can adopt either as a policy or an effort moving forward. And with that, I'll entertain a motion. Unless there's other comments, I don't see any hands raised. Oh, Mr. Powell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just had a quick question, and maybe it's something that will get flushed out later in the process, but how do we vet, or how will we vet those applications, that come in, to ensure that, there really is like a true need, and that it's an economic, factor, instead of maybe like a mismanagement factor of money.
Mr. Powell, I just want to say that each year, all of these projects are monitored for compliance. And so just kind of give a backdrop, and you work in multifamily, you know that with affordable housing multifamily, that there's not a huge gulf, if you will, for a lot of error, so the margin that we have that set aside where they can fall, in the black or in the red is very, very tiny. And so with that, we go out and we identify if there are any risks, if the developer at this particular time has underestimated or overestimated some things. We look at their cash flow, what they're charging for any type of management or administrative fees. All of those things are looked at annually. And so we would be able to identify early on if there are some issues and make some recommendations based on our monitoring.
So do we have anyone that's currently in that situation? Or like, how do we know, I guess just my, do we put out any sort of reports that, hey, we think that, this developer or, project, may be, needing, assistance? I mean, so what you indicated would mean that we're already going to have an idea of who might be applying for these restructures?
But there's a monitoring report that goes out for each agency that we go and do a monitoring on. So we have a monitoring schedule set up annually. But many of these agreements were made 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so the market has changed considerably over time. And what I want to say is that I believe that at that period of time, we were all doing the best that we could under the circumstances. But now time has lapsed. We've gone through the housing crisis. We've seen, so many different variations of what could go wrong. And so I want to say this is a time for us to look at where we are, reassess things, and make right what we do know. And so I want to say to this board that, now that we know better, we are doing better. We are putting together policies in place so that we can actively set our processes up that will better serve our partners and in the end, better serve our residents.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Mr. Powell, I can appreciate your questions. One of the things that we do have on our monthly report is a report of monitoring compliance. So to give us an idea of the number of projects that are reviewed, they are reviewed very frequently. And typically with interest rates, deals and metrics change. We're in a relatively low period, and a lot of these restructurings actually work to sustain the project rather than bail the project out. So I thought it would be good to make sure we have a framework so that those individuals who are in a situation where they're either wanting to refinance or restructure, because it actually helps them sustain their project or their affordable housing space, then it works. They know exactly how they need to move forward and what to expect. And mm-hmm. there's more in a partnership rather than a guard dog kind of situation. That's what we've seen for the most part. A majority of the applications come through really is just to restructure and to make sure that they're able to not only meet all of the requirements that they have to as far as the conditions and opportunities, and not just profitability, but more importantly, to make sure that that property can effectively be sustained. Because one of the things that I'm doing right now is asking for those where their LURP is actually expiring. That's the right term. LURP is actually expiring. We're asking those partnerships basically to extend if they can. So where we can, because we have so many expiring and we will be losing a significant number of housing units with the number that are expiring because we are sort of 20 years into this, having that opportunity to work with our affordable housing partners is critically important to the success of this program.
And the only other thing I would like to add, Mr. Powell, is that, let's say 20 years ago, a developer may not have been able to project out the capital improvement costs, right? So and so you might look at maybe a 3% increase over time. But if there were changes in building codes, all of those things factor in how much it costs for capital improvements. And so we don't want our affordable housing developments to become dilapidated over time. And so when they come in and they need restructuring for capital improvements, we look at that as an opportunity to be able to extend our partnership and expand and respond to the needs of affordable housing at that particular time. And so it is ongoing. It is very fluid. We look at this more of not initially as a 15-year or 30-year agreement, but one that would last over time when we both come back to the table, renegotiate, extend, sometimes reinvest, and expand for the needs of the people.
No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we were not, as Commissioner Overman said, that we weren't given like a bailout, so to speak, that it was something more because of a need. And I like you, I am in property management. I own a lot myself and manage hundreds of properties, and so I understand about forecasting out and those things. I'm always restructuring your debt to make things sustainable and taking advantage of the cheaper interest rates. So everyone's refinancing, so that's never an issue in my policy, and I'm always happy for and wanting to see capital improvements being made. So that wasn't and have the expectation that they should happen. I just wanted to, make sure that, again, that we weren't doing something to where we're restructuring their debt because, there was a mismanagement, not because they needed, additional, capital for, improvements, and things like that. Because, I don't want to throw good money at bad, situations.
Right. No, we're not doing that. We're pretty strict with the funding, not really that generous in nature.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Combs, you're recognized.
Yeah, my question is in regards to the communication plan. How are we communicating these policy changes or updates to the rest of the public at large, or specifically the partnerships that we're working with?
That's a very good question.
Okay, and so not all of our partners want to come in and restructure their loans. So this would only be only impact really those partners that want to restructure their loans. And so we go out annually and we communicate with our partners. We monitor all of the developments at least annually, and sometimes more than that if there is an issue or a cause to. And so we would only be communicating this change per their request or need.
So I guess my question is, though, how would they know that there is an opportunity for this? Is it, and I guess it's kind of a broader question too, in terms of any updated policies that are out there. Is it kind of, you send out a broad email to all the partners, just letting them know that, these are the new updated policies and procedures, or a new, addendum or change to it. So that way the providers are aware, or, able to take advantage of something that could be beneficial to them, just in terms of being able to know what's available out there.
Right. So it was always available, Sarah. What we did is clearly formalize the process. So them coming back to restructure their loans, we're always available. The roles that we played, including the AHAB role, was not clearly defined. So that's what this policy did, was clearly define it. It didn't offer a new opportunity. Opportunity existed already.
Okay, I guess maybe I'm not saying it succinctly. So when new updates are made, do we send an email out to notify everyone, to let them know that a new update has been made to a policy, or do we just when they're being monitored, it's brought to their attention? Or that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how are our providers aware of new changes or updates to any policy that's created?
So when they go out and they monitor, they bring any kind of updates with them on things that's on any kind of changes that's available. And oftentimes, if there is a need from one of our partners, they reach out to us immediately. So if they have cash flow issues, they're reaching out to us. If they need to restructure simply because the interest rates are better. So a few years ago, interest rates may have been 5%, right? But now many of them are down to 2% or 2.5%. And so they'll reach out to us for restructuring, and then we're responsive to that. So it's more of a response than it is a mass kind of communication effort.
Do we have like a website that we could post updates to it, and then that way it would make it available? And this is broad. This is not just talking about this, but is there anything that we do in regards to that? That way we say that is our communication piece, saying any updates or policy changes can be found on our website, and then that could be our communication piece, and then the information is there for them to see.
Okay, absolutely. We could add this to our Affordable Housing Services website, and thank you for the suggestion.
I think that would be a good streamline. Anything that's updated, and then you're not trying to figure out who did we tell, who did we communicate to, but go to our website and it's all made available there. I think that would help.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Sarah. And we can also make sure that we include this action, should it get approved today, in the newsletter that goes out each month. So, that's another place for those that really like paper and information. It'll be there for those that utilize our website as a way of learning what our efforts are in the area of affordable housing. We can have a blurb about this included there, an informational piece included there with links to the contacts. But, Michelle does a great job of doing all of this, the monitoring and communicating the information out. So, Ms. Donahue, you had a question or comment?
My comment would be that when this type of questioning that we're having is exactly why we needed to begin bringing these issues to our advisory board. And we said in the committee meeting that this would not have been possible when we were meeting every other month. We couldn't have helped the situation. We would have hurt the situations. So now that we're meeting monthly, and as we begin to see these, hopefully not a lot, but there's a good chance that we will see them. We will see them now, whereas before it was handled by our staff. And in no way does this indicate that they were not doing an admirable job. It just means that we're going to see, just like you said before, is this a trend? Are we seeing something? Do we need to start talking to others statewide, countywide? We're seeing this trend. What do we need to do to address this issue? And of course, we might see the trend because, like you said before as well, we're at the 20-year mark. So now it's almost beginning to be that time. The committee does recommend this, and so I would be happy to make that motion from the committee to accept this policy, and unless when you're ready.
No, that's fine. I don't see any other hands raised or,
Madam Chair, this is James.
yes?
I have a call-in user 813503. Can you identify yourself? I believe this is Mr. Rosenweiser.
Rosenwasser?
Yes, sir.
Hey,
Thank you, Mark.
Great, we have you. Thank you very much. So yeah,
Thank you. I apologize.
That's correct.
Apologize for my technical problems.
Glad you're there. And I think we have regained our quorum. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Excellent.
This is Nancy.
Yay. Okay, so unless there's other questions, which Sherry, your hand is still raised. I don't see any other raised hands. Speak now. And with that, I'm not seeing any. I would entertain the motion, Ms. Donahue.
I move to approve the, I was trying to take my hand down. I got lost here. I move to approve the restructuring of the affordable housing services policy.
Do I have a second?
As presented.
Second.
And is that David Hollis?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, it is.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilwoman Sherry Donahue, a second by David Hollis. Any discussion? With that, clerk, will you please take the roll?
Overman,
Yes.
Rosenwasser,
Yes.
Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. Powell,
Yes. Sorry.
Ms. Combs,
Yes.
Hollis,
Yes.
motion carried unanimously.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much, everyone. In addition to that, one other subcommittee met this month. We've been pretty busy. We're getting a lot of work done. We had a meeting on the land trust, community land trust options, some opportunities, and some of the steps that we want to consider. Will the chair of the land trust subcommittee please present your report?
Yes, this is Sarah Combs. We have not met since our last meeting. Our next scheduled meeting is for tomorrow.
Oh.
And so I do not have a report out at this time.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I was able to check in. I wasn't able to stay for the whole meeting, but I was able to listen to part of it, and it sounded like the last one. A very good meeting, and I'm looking forward to the conversations tomorrow. What time is that meeting?
2:30.
2:30.
2:30 tomorrow. Excellent. Okay, great. Cheryl Howell, would you like to offer the director's report, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hi, Cheryl Howell, Affordable Housing Services. And the first thing that I'd like to talk about is the SHIP funding. And so Commissioner Overman mentioned that earlier. And so with the state SHIP funding, the funding has been suspended at this particular time. And so no entitlements receive funding as of yet. We did, however, receive what they call CRF funding, and that's CARES relief funding that was awarded to the states and is trickling down through the entitlement areas. For Hillsborough County, we received $3.1 million. These dollars can be spent for rent or mortgage assistance or any other type housing activities, as long as there is a direct link to COVID-19. And so right now within our county, the county is utilizing a good portion of funding for rental and mortgage assistance. Almost at this point, we're looking at possibly $40 million for just the rent and mortgage assistance. And so with this $3.1 million, it was my thought that we might be able to provide a sustainable product, a product that could last for a period of time. And so we were looking at the possibility of acquiring a small motel for people who have been displaced because of COVID-19, because they lost their jobs and have been impacted by COVID-19. And looking at the possibility of also working with some of our housing counseling agencies to deploy some of the funding. Right now, we have 7 agencies within the county, and those are HUD certified housing counseling agencies. And this would be a way to be able to provide assistance to people who have not been able to navigate through our system, to people who are still in need. And the housing counseling agencies work so closely with the people in the communities. They really have their pulse on those residents, especially those mortgage holders who are in need. And this is also an opportunity to provide some additional support for our housing counseling agencies that we certainly, that the people certainly need so much right now because of the dire circumstances that they're facing. And so those were 2 ideas that I did want to bring up before this board this morning. And just to kind of get your blessing on trying to move forward, because we have to have all of these funds expended by December 31st, or December 30th, really. Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Ms. Howe. One question I had is for the rental assistance, is the tenant's landlord able to apply for rental assistance on behalf of a tenant, or does it have to be that specific tenant? Because I know of a few situations where some landlords, their tenants are really, really behind, and they have not they haven't applied for they've been given information on rental assistance programs, but they haven't applied for them, or just refused to apply for them for whatever reason. So I was just curious if there was any if that was allowed for a landlord to apply. And actually, and my second question would be, when someone does get rental assistance and that's approved, does that go from us to the tenant and then to the landlord, or does that go directly to a landlord?
Okay, so so let me address this in 2 different responses. Okay, so right now the landlord cannot apply on behalf of the tenant. Okay. But we're in the background working on a program that would allow for landlords to apply. So that's something I just want to say that's a to be determined, not yet been approved, but we see that there's a need there as well, Mr. Cody. And so also the tenants come in, they have to apply for themselves under the housing counseling programs that we like to push forward. They would apply through the housing counseling agencies, and they would get counseling as well as rental or mortgage assistance. And then the counseling agencies would pay the landlord or the mortgage company on their behalf.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I have actually a couple more questions. Let's see.
I see Liz.
First, Liz, you're recognized.
Thank you. So I wanted to say that, Cheryl, I think your idea of using the $3 million for something more sustainable than rental aid is actually a good one. I'm a huge proponent of providing rental aid, I think it's really necessary. But as you said, this money needs to be out the door by the end of December. And I do have concerns about creating systems that will help people beyond when this money is available. And so I think providing it to housing counselors, as you mentioned, they can help tenants apply for the aid. I think having landlords be able to apply isn't a bad idea either, but the housing counselors can be a more sympathetic ear to also help with counseling as well as the applications. Because I'm sure for many people, being able to complete an application, you need it online, something or other. You may need to scan documents. It may just be practically difficult. Or even the idea of buying a motel, I think those are things worth exploring. So I really just wanted to support your idea that since the county is putting a lot of money into rental aid, then looking at this $3 million as a way to invest in something that may sustain us beyond December, I think it's a very smart idea.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Sarah Combs, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just wanted to second what Liz said. And my question was, obviously that funding can be used for something such as acquisition, and then because it's desperately needed. So just wanted to kind of reiterate the support and the need for housing right now, and the idea of being able to do acquisition for a motel to be able to kind of meet that gap. It's so needed in communities right now where families are not able to get housing and they need something in that interim. And so I just wanted to, let you know that we're hearing that in this community. And I think that it's something that is very, very wise for us to look at how we're going to bridge that gap. And whether it be, transitional housing or, I don't know what kind of housing we're talking about for that motel, but something that I very much appreciate, Cheryl, you looking at different ways to be able to really meet that need and fill that gap and that void. And so my question for that would be, is if we do acquire motels, who would be managing those properties and managing that process?
Right. And so it absolutely will not be the county. So, but I want to say that we are working right now on an RFP. We've been working with Florida Housing Finance Corporation. So I just want to say by the time an idea reaches the board, there's a tremendous amount of work that already is put into it. And so I won't bring an idea to you that's not feasible, that's not workable. And so we've been working with Florida Housing to see if we could actually use the funds for that. They said yes. Okay, awesome. which is a big feat. We have been kind of dusting off one of our RFPs so that one of our nonprofits that are that have the kind of history with serving families emerging out of homelessness and can provide those wraparound services to really help these families stabilize once again, that would be the type of nonprofit that we would be looking to work with to carry out these services.
Excellent. Councilwoman Donahue, you're recognized.
I just want to say I work with families at my church who have left their apartments because they did not know that it was illegal to evict them. So, and they're told by the landlord they have to go, and they just calmly pack up their things and leave. I don't know how we're going to handle that because obviously we don't know why they're not getting the message. They're probably not getting the message because they are poor English speakers. I'm sure we have it out there in multiple languages. But when I heard that, my first reaction was, well, he can't do that. And they just looked at me like, yes, he can. He told us we had to leave. We can't pay, So the boiling under the surface is just palpable, So sorry, that's nothing we can do about that. I was just an obvious comment that we're doing all we can do for the people we can help. And sadly, we're not reaching everyone because there are people who are taking advantage of this situation. So thank you.
And there's so much fear out there, and no, not everybody will get the message, but we certainly are working hard for people to get the message. As a matter of fact, I will be working with the Hispanic Council a little bit later this month. They have a form that they have planned as well. And so, reaching out to the Haitian and Creole community. And so we want to make sure that all of our residents get this message. Absolutely.
Ms. Stromer, your hand is still raised. Did you have another comment? Excellent. Just to let everyone know, the good news is we are getting the information out, and we were re-expanding the program. There was a little bit of time during the month of May where some of these benefits or applications may not have been processed in the same way as they are now. We have a second round running. We did a major PR blitz 2 weeks ago, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the website. It's actually on my social media page. If you have a social media platform, please put it out there. But one of the things that we are recognizing is that the digital divide is a major problem for a very large section of our citizenry. And if they're not connected to the internet, or they don't have, and they only are connected to the internet using phones, many of those that have been eligible for this program have found it very difficult to apply.
Exactly.
Not impossible, but difficult. And then it also requires this amount of information from the landlord. So and if the landlord doesn't respond or doesn't cooperate, that individual is quite challenged. So our staff, Cheryl's staff, many of the folks on the social services side have been working diligently to find creative ways that we can address this gulf, this gigantic gap that's out there for our citizens. But I would highly encourage all of you to there's a bunch of links on the website now. Use your social network and your voice to get the information out there, because we raised the dollar amounts for this specific project, and the state did as well. And Ms. Howell's department is working very hard to make sure that we're actually getting the dollars and the resources out there to keep families stable in their home. We have a new call-in user. Mr. Brewer, do you want to work through that?
Yes, ma'am. Call-in user 352 is the area code 238. Can you identify yourself? Area code 352-238. Can you identify yourself, please? You're called into the meeting.
Yes, this is Velvet Burris.
She's on our planning staff.
Excellent.
Thank you, ma'am. You're checked in.
Thank you very much for joining us. Ms. Howell, continue, please.
Yes, and so I just want to say thank you to the board for your support. The staff will work diligently so that we can get these funds out the door. We understand the needs of the people. We will work closely with the housing counseling agencies who can help to act as a conduit in this process as well, because they have their pulse on the community. We're hoping to move very, very swiftly with these funds, and hoping for the possibility of a second round of funds coming in from Florida Housing Finance Corporation. So I want to say I believe that they put these funds out in two phases. First of all, to see who can spend the funding. And in Hillsborough County, we're trailblazers. We set the pace for what many of the counties are doing all over the state. And so I want to say thank you to the board for your innovation, for your creativity, and for the support that you lend to the staff. You're incredible. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that we have a number of different agenda items. We have been very, very busy. It's my hope that you're able to look through the agenda items and see some of the many projects that you have been supportive of, and some of the efforts that you have supported throughout. I want to say it may take us 3, 4, sometimes 6 months to get a program or a project out the door. And Sarah can attest to that. She's been working on one for about a year or so. And so we're finally ramping up for that one. Also, I want to bring up the affordable housing available in surplus lands. And so this fits right into CLT and land banking. And so what I've done is I am going to pull up a screen here for you. Let's see here. We have a number of, I am going to take this down here. I'm trying to move my stuff around so I can see on my screen, you know, so we have a number of different properties. I'm going to pull up all of the properties initially so that you can see that it is currently over almost 60 properties, right, that's available. But some of the properties are not really designed to build on, right? So we went through and we took out those properties. And then some of the properties are not in areas. So if they are in, let's say out in New Tampa, or in some areas that don't have transit, that may not indicate a real need right now or urgent need for affordable housing, we took those out as well. We have left here I want to start with just our yeses. So we have right now about, how many properties it's that? It looks to be about 20 properties or so that we believe would be good for affordable housing sites. And some of them are excess lands. They vary in size. In others, you know, so we got some off Old Morris Bridge Road, which is a little bit further out. We got the Ehrlich Road property, but it's some in particular that I would like to bring to your attention. The Sheldon Road property right here. It's right off of Waters and Sheldon. Could be an excellent site for affordable housing. We have the Ehrlich Road property could be an excellent site for affordable housing. But what I like for you to do is go in maybe at a later date and really take your time, look at these properties individually so that we can have an intelligent conversation about which properties we like to recommend to come over to affordable housing. So, you know, the devil's always in the details. So what I like to say to you is that these properties that come over to affordable housing have to be maintained. So there's a cost of maintaining the properties once we take them under our coffers, right? So just know that when the properties come over to us, the cost of maintenance for these properties then will come out of our local affordable housing funds to maintain the properties. And so we have to look at realistically how many properties we can move. And typically it takes money and property to get an affordable housing development built, not just property. So realistically, how many of these properties can we get moved within a certain period of time? And so I would say 3 years. Let's look at 3 years, right? And project out based on our current budget of affordable housing dollars, right? So what that simply means is that even though although all of these are available, we probably should not take on all of these. And so we want to take on the best ones that's going to create the most, either the most amount of units or the type of units that's available in the areas that makes the most sense. Because remember, we're not just creating affordable housing units, we're doing placemaking as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so they need transit, they need grocery stores, they need all of those things that make living affordable, because they don't just have an affordable housing problem, they have an affordable living problem.
Okay, I don't see any questions. I do have some comments that I'd like to offer. I printed out, believe it or not, and used up probably all the ink I have. I printed out the actual land folios and illustrations. And the reason I did is that I wanted to really take a look at the surrounding areas, also to determine not only acreage, but also placement. And it was very, very enlightening. What's nice about this list is it's a combination of single family lots or 1 acre lots, depending on the density of the zoning in that particular area. And then there were actually multi-acre lots available. And so carefully reviewing these, highlighting them, and maybe we could do at the next meeting, a honed down list of recommendations for 2 purposes. 1, to put out to RFP, but 2, to add to possibly a land trust. And the other option is if we own it in the land trust and we rezone it for affordable housing, there may be an additional incentive for the developer that does not need to pay the property taxes on the land value if it's zoned that way. So it makes it much more affordable for example, a multi-unit, not necessarily, high-rise, but a multi-unit affordable housing project, because they only pay taxes on the building and improvements rather than on the land. So it creates some long-term sustainability for lands that are set aside for affordable housing. And given that we are going to see, just out of necessity, if nothing else, an increase in various different, land-related costs in order to create sustainability for Hillsborough County in general, especially in the unincorporated areas, it is going to be critically important that we offer an opportunity for a really nice balanced approach towards affordable housing. And this is one of the ways that we can do that, which is why the surplus lands list is so critically important to this committee, and identifying ways that we can actually protect assets for communities that are at risk of displacement or at risk of having development price people out of a community. So that's one of the things I wanted to offer as a reason why to carefully look through this list and sort of highlight it so that when we address it as an agenda item next month, you'll have an opportunity to weigh in on what you see as an opportunity and maybe which direction we should go, whether it be through an RFP for a developer in general, or whether or not we would look to incorporate a community land trust element associated with it. Ms. Stronger, you had your hand raised.
Yes, Cheryl, would you have the capacity in your staff to map these locations and also map transit? Because I find that I'm having trouble picturing what's where. So if we want to know what are larger sites and what are near amenities, that would be really helpful to me.
Overlay transit on that. And so if there are any other overlays that you'd like to see, please let us know so we could easily come in. We do have the properties map. And so we could come in and overlay We can overlay tracks, like railroad tracks, for the possibility of future transit, not just current. We can overlay current heart lines. We can overlay different business districts. So let us know. And so certainly Trinity Miller really does an outstanding job. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome. Yes, I know she does an outstanding job with everything, so I'm not surprised she does an outstanding job with that.
Yeah, she really does, and so we certainly will do that. But if there are other layers that you'd like to add on, please let us know. We want to get this right so that you can make the best possible decision. But the other thing I did want to ask is that those properties that are just not buildable properties, we need to go back to real estate as soon as we can to say, hey, we release these back to you because they're not buildable. We've already gone through them, and so really we wanted to bring all of them to you. But I did want to go back to real estate and just release those properties that are not buildable.
Okay, thank you. Now, could you bring we can't see your illustration any longer. For some reason, it's not showing.
Okay, I will.
Right.
Let me reshare it. I apologize. Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Okay, that's great. Kyle, you're
So
recognized.
I am going to go and reshare it again. So is that it? Can you see it now?
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few things. The properties that Ms. Howell was speaking of that we currently have that are not currently feasible to be buildable. I was wondering if there was a way that being on the Planning Commission that we could, maybe ask the Planning Commission to look at or, to do a study on certain changes that could be made to like building code, land development code that would allow for these surplus lands to then actually become, buildable. To take a look at the factors. Hey, well, this lot is too small, and due to the need for maybe setbacks or ingress and egress with the current plan and development code, it's not feasible. But if something is amended only to allow for affordable housing, then this particular piece of property may actually be usable. Because if it's not going to be usable, and we would like to, give these back over to real estate. I was also thinking that it might be nice if those properties could be moved over to the community land trust, and then the land trust could actually liquidate those, assets to have some funds on hand. So then that way the land trust could then go out and look at maybe adjoining parcels around our good pieces of land in an effort to try to acquire those. So that way we would have, just better, buildable land, that Ms. Howell thought, would be, good targets or the committee, so that way, because right now, I don't think the committee, we don't have any funds available, to have that sort of, capability to go out and do that. So I think that would be something that would be really great, for us to, to be able to do. Commissioner Overman, I recall back in, it was in February at a workshop, a land use workshop. One of it, and it was a big document, but there was an item that said they wanted to implement the strategies to increase, the affordable housing stock, including public-private partnership opportunities on county, on surplus county properties. So that to me would seem like that could really fit into the BOCC's, 12-month agenda, and it could kind of tie all that in.
Mm-hmm.
What we could do also, because I'm working very closely with Melissa, what we could do is actually send this list over to one of their staff people and have them to review it, bring their review, our review back to the AHAB board, and then, say to real estate, we release these or we want these, whatever the recommendation is. I can delay going back to real estate at this time, or I can just inform them that the AHAB committee wants to take some additional time to review.
Thank you, Cheryl. Sherry Donahue, you're recognized, and I actually have a few comments before we.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Powell. I think you're thinking like me in that we need to think outside of the box here. And if there is a way for us to use the funds for the sale of some of these properties, I mean, I'm looking at that piece on Old Morse Bridge Road. I mean, you better have a car if you're going to live there. There's no way to get there. And yet there are small housing developments that are going in right now. And apparently it's a new place to build, but not for affordable housing. My other question is, have we ever thought to take a piece of this property and encourage a grocery store? Because one of the things you mentioned first was that they weren't feasible for us to build affordable housing because they were in a food desert. And I don't know how we can encourage a Winn-Dixie or a Publix or Aldi's or any of those to come into those neighborhoods. You would think they would say, oh my goodness, I'll be the only store in a huge area, will do well. But they must need some other, encouragement to come in there. Is that even within our scope?
Not necessarily within affordable housing, but I work closely with Lindsay Kimball, and Lindsay Kimball does an outstanding job with site selection and working with businesses that are coming into the area. The other thing that I want to point out to you is when we look at this Morris Bridge site, so it says economic development, so there could be some enterprise funds that have to be paid back for these properties as well. So, there's no clear path. And so if enterprise funds have to be paid back for these particular properties, then that comes out of the Affordable Housing Trust money or the HOPE funds, right? And so what it does is it limits the amount of money that we, working capital that we have to work with, and it pays the enterprise funds for those particular properties. But they are available, but some of them have contingencies attached. And so those are things that have to be considered. We're bringing recommendations to you and educating the board so that you can make the best possible decisions based on these properties.
Excellent. I don't think we have hands raised at this time.
Okay.
I appreciate it. One of the things I did want to say is that along the lines of what Mr. Powell brought up, lands that aren't buildable or maybe aren't appropriate for affordable housing that are adjacent to lands that are, does create an opportunity for a green space or an opportunity for the land trust to own the land in partnership with an affordable housing project. So whereas, if it's not buildable per se, but it allows for a room for other amenities, playgrounds, other things, it's possible if it's a small parcel. But where, to Ms. Donahue's point, but where there's also an opportunity for a community asset or a community need for, daycare, small grocery, and those kinds of things in partnership with the Affordable Housing Project, that's always a good thing too. So, and that way we wouldn't necessarily pull away from an economic development, but it does encourage that opportunity for connected communities that are whole because they are mixed-use property development. Thank you very much for bringing this list. I encourage everyone to kind of go through it. I also had had my staff reach out to get a map to make it easier to see where all of these are. and how they're connected or not, and how they're connected to transit that's not only currently there, but potentially there. Remembering that HART is beginning the process of evaluating the CSX lines. Now that's a 10 or 15 year project, I'm going to imagine, but at least we are working in that direction again. So there are some opportunities here. So I'd love for every board member to take a look at this list and create a short list. Or ABC, or, first, second, and third in terms of ranking. And if, as well as identifying what you see as a affordable housing, single family or multifamily type of arrangement. With that, I'm going to recognize Ms. Combs.
Thank you. I was really excited when I got this list, and I actually went through all 59 of them. And wanted to have a little bit of conversation and unpack this list, because a lot of some of the properties and the parcels that were on this list actually had facilities already on them. So Cheryl, can you talk to us a little bit more about, so it seems like this list is combined from the county, and they're kind of giving it up to affordable housing to say, look through this list, see if these are properties that you would be able to, see a vision for attainable housing, and then you could go through the process of requesting those to be moved over to affordable housing. Now, the ones that have facilities on them, that's the one that kind of threw me for a loop in terms of understanding if those were still up, because one of them is a firehouse in my community, and I'm like, what's going on with the firehouse? Is that available? Or so when I looked through these, I had a lot of questions.
So with the firehouse, there's a portion of that property that's available behind the fire station, and I want to say that's a total of about 5 acres, but it leaves about 2.1 acres that's available.
Okay, so some of the properties, if they have facilities on them, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the facility itself. It's just that there's additional property, surplus property there that could be kind of parceled out and used.
Yeah, right. And so every property has a story of its own. Some properties are landlocked, and that's why we say, it's not usable. Some is a little strip of property up against a railroad track. Others might be an emergency operations center. Let's say the property over off of Hannah. And so that was used as an emergency operations center. That's 22nd and Hannah. And so really and truly that property is encumbered with a lot of contingencies. And so there's no way that can be even worked through in 3 years. And so we look at legal issues. We look at if the property is buildable, right? And so not buildable in terms of can it be built on at some time and point, but can it be buildable within the next few years, the next 3 years or whatever that is, And so even if we look at transferring the property over to a CLT, we got to remember that the CLT has to have a level of support, right? And that if we give these properties over to when we give the properties over to the CLT will need properties that it can quickly get developed in order for the CLT to be successful and begin to bring in income to sustain itself. And for the optics of it as well, because we don't want to give the CLT properties that it's going to take years out to develop, and the CLT looks as if it's not doing anything or, has not been successful. So we want to design things so that the CLT that's set up by this AHAB board, right, can be the most successful engineered product that it can be in terms of putting out and working as a partner in the affordable housing arena.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. And I just have to say that this is so exciting to have the 59 of these properties. I mean, I don't know if the timing was teed up for us, to really get our committee going for the land trust committee and then see this property. But I mean, I don't know if anyone sees the gold mine and the strategy that is here. But I mean, this is really exciting because there's properties that we already have, basically in the coffer, that we could really develop a strategy, a clustered strategy, and really making sure that we're linking it with all the things that make a project like this successful. And I think that when you do that overlay map, it's important to include food, obviously, healthcare, transportation, and you already talked about the CSX tracks or anything like that. But when you do those maps, that overlay of those items will be incredibly important to figure out how we can use that. And I see this as a tiered approach and kind of fitting these properties into a specific category of what needs to happen. And then I also see leveraging the resources that we have, leveraging, the EPA and being able to get a lot of the land due diligence out of the way before that happens. And that's where we can leverage funding and partners. I mean, that's what I'm doing with our own land banking. And I tell you, being able to pull in all these different resources and partners, into the land development, into the land banking, makes it so much quicker because you're teeing it up for success. So excuse my excitement, but I see a way that, Hillsborough County can really start to address and create a strategy that makes sense in really getting people in homes. So thank you so much for this. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too. We would have brought this back to the AHAB board about 4 months ago, but some other things started to take our attention.
Obviously. Ms. Donahue, you're recognized.
I'm sorry. I'm fine. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, your hand's still up. So good. Okay, great. Ms. Howell, the next item on the agenda is?
Okay. The next item on the agenda, so I am going to get back over here.
Is it an update for housing services, or did you have more to discuss?
No, I didn't have anything more to discuss. I am trying to pull up my sheet here. Okay. I am not able to get it. So we do have some of our staff online today. We have our monitoring and compliance manager. Michelle, are you there?
Can you unshare those documents, please?
Okay.
Good morning. Yes, Michelle, I'm here.
Excellent.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Great.
And I really don't have anything exciting to update you. We are continuing to monitor all of the existing multifamily properties as well as the incoming new projects that are coming online pretty rapidly. We have at least 4 or 5 new multifamily projects that are in the works, and we continue to work with every single one of them to make sure that they have what they need. They have their documents are in compliance and that their tenants and units and rents are also in compliance.
Okay, great. And Mr. Whitty, I see you on the line. Could you give us an update on the DEO projects and where we are with that?
Good morning, everyone. Hi, my name is Tremaine Whitty. We're currently in our last phase of submitting for the DEO grant for Rebuilding Florida. We submitted the first round for the infrastructure and hardening of critical facilities. The second round was supporting for planning documents, and now this third round is for infrastructure. We're looking to get a couple big projects going. Both will be septic to sewers for, hopefully we could be granted for Palm River and University area. And we're also waiting for our innovation and resilience departments to provide us with some projects that they have as well.
Right. And so, guys, I just want to say that Tremaine's doing an awesome job with this. And this could be, this could change those areas forever. And so we're really, really working hard at this, hoping that the state will see the benefit in these projects in Hillsborough County. And let me call on Ms. Layla Hartz. Are you there?
Yes, good morning. Not too much to update on this morning from last month. We did have a couple of public facilities that graduated from the construction phase into the compliance phase. So we did have a few public facilities drop off of our current workload list. And we did add a housing counseling relocation agreement for the Tampa Park residents. We're also working on the new contracts that are coming on board from the latest RFP that was announced a few months ago at the BOCC. But other than that, we have 39 active projects. My team works very hard to manage the overall construction and management of those projects.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Layla. She does an awesome job. She does. And I see we have one person here from our planning team, and that would be Miss Barris. Are you there? No, we have Miss Hollinger. I apologize. Willette Hollinger, she's the manager. Are you there, Willette?
Good morning. I think that Willette is in an appointment right now, so I am online.
Okay. And Ms. Burrs, a report from you?
Yes, ma'am. We have received our subrecipient agreement for the coronavirus relief funding. We received that back on Friday, August 7th. We also have 2 requests for proposal in the works to go out, one for housing counseling agencies to manage mortgage and rental assistance for the CRF funds, and property management and housing services to manage the hotel Ms. Howe was filling us in on earlier for the COVID relief.
Okay,
And
great.
those are really the 3 main items that we have going on right now.
And for those of you who don't realize, we have to do environmental reviews in-house and a number of other things. We manage the lead-based paint. We manage a number of different things before our project is even recommended for funding. And the planning team does a dynamic job of working with the nonprofits, working with our developers, working with HUD and our state agencies to make sure that we get it right before we even award a project. So thank you, Velvet, for all of your hard work and the professionalism that this team has is outstanding. I'm so very proud and pleased with the product, with the work product that the team at large has. I just think we have some outstanding individuals. And so I just want to say thank you and thank you to Nancy. I want to say that is all for me.
The other item we have on the agenda, which I believe you covered earlier, was the CRF funding, and that I think you basically covered that in your director's report earlier.
Right.
Unless you have anything that you'd like to add.
No, I don't have any more that I would like to add, but I will keep you posted on the CRF funding if we get additional funding or any other news that may crop up. I certainly will keep you posted. And for those of you, please take a look at our monthly newsletter. It kind of gives you a peek at some of the other projects that are out there, some of the things that we're doing that you may not even be aware that we are doing. And so please, Angelo spends a lot of time putting this together for us, and we just use it as a communication tool to keep you as a board aware of some of the many things that we're doing and the public as well.
Sure, I'm going to ask you a question. I don't see any other hands raised. Speaking of that, we have the monthly newsletter in our board agenda. Is the monthly newsletter a link on the county website under affordable housing that could be shared on various people's social media page?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that it absolutely is. It should be on our Affordable Housing Advisory Board website. But let me ask Natasha. Are you Natasha? Could you chime in on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. So the materials are posted. The newsletter is included on our AHAB website, but an actual link to post to social media is not available on the AHAB website, but that is something that we can talk to our communication staff about, possibly getting that to where it can be shared on social media accounts.
That would be great. I think that would be a great way to get all the work. I would tell you, I cannot say enough about our affordable housing department and Ms. Howell. If anybody could run in place faster than the speed of light, these folks are. They're doing an amazing job. They're juggling a lot of things that are even more complicated as a consequence of of coronavirus and COVID-19, and are really working very hard to bring resources for those that are in need of housing and those that are in need of permanent housing. So I just want to say thank you to the entire staff for doing an admirable job. And the reason I asked about the link is that I would love to be able to shine and give an opportunity to shine on the great work that the county's doing, but also all of you as our board have an opportunity to really, celebrate the work that's being done in the area of affordable housing.
We'll make that happen right away, Commissioner.
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. The next item is the future business. Anyone have any future business items they would like to bring forward? Going once? Going twice? Mr. Powell, are you recognized?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just would like to see if the board would like to have any input. I kind of brought this up a minute ago on I would like to ask like either county staff or planning commission staff, to take a look at, doing, because I don't think we have a study or we've ever done a study before, where if we could find out ways that we could make land development for affordable housing providers, like cheaper. If there's a way that we could, say, hey, if we can, only for affordable housing, but as an example, I thought it was, let's, say that we reduce like the parking requirements, for a particular, like for multifamily housing, so that, or where they don't have to provide, maybe larger, they can have like smaller sidewalks, things of that nature that we can do on a development services level that would, help reduce, building costs. So that way it may make a project more feasible and maybe be able to add, additional units and things like that. So I would like to kind of have a discussion and see if that's something that anyone would have an interest in giving some input in. I'm sure that you would have several thoughts on that. But I just would like to see if that's something that we could reach out to, staff and see if we can, get something in the works and coordinate that with, affordable housing staff as well to see what we can maybe put together.
We actually have been working on something similar. It's still in hash it out stage, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But between the Planning Commission, the land development, facilities, and affordable housing, there is ongoing conversations on restructuring our processes in such a way that the carrot and sticks approach to working with our partners in affordable housing, as well as facilitating expedited processing, but also looking at the most effective ways of making it attractive, and without giving up too much for the quality of life for a project that is put together. Mm-hmm. So that is in the works. Maybe we could add to the agenda some representatives from planning and land development that could offer us some guidance on what's on the table for consideration. Obviously, the BOCC is going to incorporate that within their long-term planning, but anything that this committee or this board can offer as guidance, I would be truly appreciated. So that's a great future item. And depending on how fast we can get a land trust up, that's going to matter too. But I'm hoping that can also be added to the agenda pretty quickly. So looking forward to hearing tomorrow's meeting.
Thank you.
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Cody, I just wanted to say I was thinking in the same terms of how you were thinking, and I think that the way that we can best go at this is through our land trust committee, trying to identify specific properties and then doing that with specific ones. So asking for kind of trying to create that vision around a property and figuring out what things are, making it hard for it to be a green light for development, and then bringing that forward and saying, instead of just a blanket, but being really specific with the property and saying, in order for this to move from, point A to point B and be used for development, this is what we need to look at. And then having them help us with the specific properties. That's kind of what I was thinking in terms of being able to kind of move forward with some of the things that we're discussing. And so in our meeting tomorrow, in our committee meeting, I'd like to bring that up again and talk about that as a strategy around land banking, land trust.
Excellent.
Great.
One of the other things that we saw recently was an article, and I believe I shared it with Ms. Howell, if you'd like to distribute it out, but there was a nice little article about a community that's being built in Thenodisassa, not exactly on a transit line, but of tiny homes for those individuals that were wanting to sort of downsize and make simple life. It was an interesting concept, and that also could be something we could incorporate in not only our comprehensive plan and land use to make sure it's easily done, but also as a strategy for being able to provide home ownership or rental availability for our single families, our seniors that are interested in just not needing a whole lot of space and land, or to maintain, but needing a roof over their head and have not a family to care for. So it would be a really nice alternative. So I don't see any other hands raised. Any other future items that we would like to consider? Okay, and with that, I will call the meeting. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you, Commissioner.